You gotta love it for a couple of minutes here at this intersection at O'Hara Airport. These assistance vehicles had gridlock. Nobody can move yet. I'm now at the Carlisle railroad station, having come up from Manchester, and came through here to Funky railroad station. Actually, it's a very old place. And then you walk across that bridge to get over to this side, which is where I think we exit to the right to the main part of the town. These old buildings are what we Western Americans like. They're rather plain, but still has its old world elegance to it. Get this church. Notice the green moss. I don't know how old it is, but it certainly looks old, doesn't it? So it's about 125 years old. It was the Anglican church. It was supposed to be demolished, and then it was saved and restored.
We had a Pentecostal church that took it over. They said Elim Church up there. We belong to the Elim Pentecostal movement.
Mm-hmm. They were originally going to build a turnaround on this spot for a big freeway, and then the council canceled that many years ago. And so that's why this church was saved. It was ultimately bought for £2,000 because it was going to cost $5,000 to tear it down. Sandstone, but it's interesting to see how beautifully this window's been worked. And this old detail. Walking back from lunch to my B&B, it's just the upper stories oftentimes of these older buildings that really intrigue me. The sameness of these rows and rows and streets of two-story brick buildings right next to each other, literally, is delineated only by some of the unique things like these pillars outside, or the color of a door, or that special little nameplate up there that refers to Craighead. In this lovely old but large house, I assume it was a house, is now the Langley guest house, and that's where I'm spending my first night and my third night. And the pleasant street this is, with the trees, without the heavy traffic. Our Lady of St. Joseph, rather imposing edifice for this town, I would say. The sun has come out this afternoon, it's quite lovely. After being in Eastern Europe so recently with its Byzantium and Islamic mosques, it's interesting in this town now to see the variety of churches, all Christian of course, but not all are. Probably somewhere there's an Islamic mosque. Down there is the railroad station. This gives us a little orientation. And right here where that blue car is coming out there is Warwick Street, where I walk down to get to my house. So right down through there is also a commercial area, and off to my left a large mall. Statue of Lord something or other. This is apparently part of the castle that has been rebuilt for several hundred years. Latest iteration. And now houses the Cumbria County Council and probably other administrative offices. Okay, we've just been right at the 20 and 21 intersection where the railroad was to our left. And now I'm proceeding to the left from 20 towards Jessop's, hoping to find out and see if I can run across the cathedral and the museum. It's part of the large pedestrianized area. It roams down here and to the right, intersecting with that view that I gave early on. Here's more of this view as I proceed further and deeper into it. Very pretty area. And I'm going to assume that I go from the center here to the left to find the cathedral. And I'm panning this little building just because it's in front of a bigger building which looks like it could be the cathedral. Another view. This must be the far right or of the nave, or the beginning of the nave if we were around the corner to the right looking at it endwise. So that was the castle, because here we are at Tooley House Museum and Art Gallery, which on the map is beyond the castle, the cathedral from the direction I was moving. So what is this? This has to be a castle. Duh, I just figured out the cleverness. The line you see here is a reproduction of the wall pathway. I'll be hiking it from the far end ahead of us back this way, stopping hopefully in Corbridge, which is an alternative route that includes Hexham. It gets me off the trail a little bit. Here, one of the major museums and original fort sites, Halt Whistle Burn. All these names familiar to me because I've read the guidebook so thoroughly. Carlisle, where we are now, and where we'll go tomorrow morning, which is here at Bonus on Solway. Maya was the name of the original Roman fort. Now, a little bit of signage on this walkway says the Roman fort at Carlisle, where we're at, lies between the Tooley House Museum and the Carlisle Castle. So that must be the Carlisle Castle, and somewhere right about where we're standing is where the original fort must have been. You gotta love these old shop facades. It makes you just want to set up a business. This is a hairdressing room, and that striped pole at the top kind of alludes to that. And here, an unimposing Seventh-day Adventist church. Everyone welcome. Signage and these little homes or offices or storage areas down below just seem interesting to me. The signage in these buildings along the street. This is an interesting building just because of the serpentine front done in brick. Off to my right, over one block, is the cathedral. Speaks for itself. This market hall building is, of course, interesting because of its look, but the market hall, I didn't know they had such a thing. It'd be interesting to see if it's truly a marketplace. This area quiet, probably as work people have gone home for the day. A classic English pub. And I'm looking exactly the opposite direction that I initially traversed down through this area to Market Center, which is to our left, but that includes that area right in front of us. And then this is a little side alley with a older building from 1900 that had that little walkway underneath it. This building with the interesting Fontainebleau stairway probably was the town hall at one time, since it has plaques for various mayors on it. And it looks like one of our familiar timepieces that I first saw in Florence. There's a little shopping area that's been enclosed, all boarded up for the night. Used to be a restaurant up there, don't know what it is. Oh, still is, I guess, the old Arcadian. With some interesting architecture. I'm sure it's faux, but interesting nevertheless. And here we're returning to the area near the railroad station, which is to the right behind this fort-like structure. And my guess is that it's called a citadel, or the citadel. And here we have real fish and chips right across the street from the citadel. And it also has on it some vinegar and some salt. I'm not sure I like it that way, but that's the way they do it if you want it. From the other side, it looks well established, beautifully cared for. This is Warwick Square, but we're not on Warwick. It's up a block to the right, but just another church. Very quiet in this fall day. Seems to be many places for rent and for sale. Here's a little bit of an architectural twist with what looks like cement facing or stucco facing on the upper story. As in most of the world, it's what's behind these staid, almost drab, old residential buildings that is of interest. Here are just some interesting architectural nuances in the brickwork, if you will. Those off-angled ways of changing the dimension of a surface. Here I've seen a few of these windows that have that distortion put into the window panes themselves. And of course, this building epitomizes Europeans' necessity of taking old buildings and replumbing them with modern convenience. What you do when you buy one of these old places is you totally renovate it. And to make crossing English streets even more exciting and challenging, you can park apparently any direction you want on either side. My street seen from the other direction, Howard Place. And this street, a nicer street than I've been prowling, because you just get a sense that they're being lived in, only lace curtains to kind of disguise the inside. A past edition. This cut-off corner architectural feature that I've seen in many countries, particularly in old towns, here carried as a aesthetic feature on up to the second floor, even though it would serve no real function up there. And here we are back at Vivian and Norman's